In this video, you will understand why the AI revolution is not a break from history, but a terrifyingly efficient acceleration of an ancient imperial code. You will discover the map of mastery, a strategic overlay that reveals how the digital lords of the 21st century are using algorithms to replicate the exact same logic of extraction that colonial empires used to conquer the physical world. You will identify the specific mechanism of ecological imperialism and how to distinguish between the promise of technological abundance and the reality of a new digital feudalism. To give you an idea of the cyclical nature of this beast, look at the records from the 15th century. When the Portuguese Empire colonized the island of Madeira to feed the world's addiction to sugar, they didn't just farm, they incinerated the ecosystem. Historical data confirms that to produce a single kilogram of sugar, they had to burn at least 40 kilograms of firewood. Today, the commodity has changed from sugar to intelligence, but the ratio of extraction remains the same. We are burning the planet's electricity and water to refine data for a monopoly of digital lords like Amazon and Alibaba. And you? You are no longer just the consumer in this equation. You are the frontier. If you do not understand the historical pattern of this global colonization, you will not be the beneficiary of the singularity. You will be the raw material. Hello, I am Fernando Diaz. Welcome to 2029, The Great Disruption. Today, from our Solar City Observatory, we are going to judge the future in the court of history. We will abandon the standard dossier format to witness a dialectical duel between two opposing forces fighting for your future. In round one, the thesis of digital feudalism, we will analyze the ideology of progress and expose the material trap hidden behind the promise of automated luxury. In round two, the antithesis of sovereign liberation, we will explore the decolonial path and the only strategy that allows you to escape the gravity of this new empire. Let's get started! Round one, the thesis of digital feudalism, the myth of luxury. Stand in the center of the room. Look at your phone. It feels light, doesn't it? Clean, wireless. It whispers a promise that has seduced humanity since the first steam engine hissed into life. The promise that technology liberates. We are currently living under the heavy sedation of an ideology that historians of the future will likely call technological utopianism. In the mid-20s, a manifesto gained traction in the intellectual circles of the West, written by Aaron Bastani, a co-founder of Novara Media. He called it fully automated luxury communism. The premise was intoxicating. By 2030, automation would eliminate labor, renewable energy would eliminate bills, and asteroid mining would eliminate scarcity. It painted a picture of 2029 where you would be living like a billionaire, sustained by a benevolent silicon god that asks for nothing in return. But I am a historian of cycles, and I know that history does not give gifts, it charges interest. This vision is a wish fulfillment fantasy. It ignores the systemic metabolism of the beast we are building. According to a rigorous critique of this ideology, the promise of infinite energy ignores fundamental physical laws, such as the Shockley-Queisser limit, which caps the efficiency of solar cells. Physics is not a politician. It cannot be lobbied. And when we look at the data provided by Tim Jackson, an ecological economist at the University of Surrey, the illusion crumbles even faster. While the UK claimed to be decoupling its economy from carbon emissions, Jackson revealed that if you count embedded emissions, the pollution generated in China to make the gadgets used in London, the actual reduction was a pathetic 0.5% per year, not the triumphant figures sold on the news. This is the digital enclosure. You are trapped inside a narrative of progress that hides the walls of the prison. In 2029, the abundance you see on your screen is paid for by a scarcity you cannot see. To understand this, we must look at the imperial sediment of our economy. I want you to travel back with me to the 15th century. Imagine the island of Madeira. It was a paradise of dense forests. Then, the Portuguese Empire decided to turn it into a sugar factory. Historical records cited by Jason Moore, a sociologist at Binghamton University who studies the ecology of capitalism, show a terrifying ratio. To produce 1 single kilogram of sugar, the colonizers had to burn at least 40 kilograms of firewood. They didn't just farm the island, they metabolized it. Within a century, the forests were gone. The island was a skeleton. Now, fast forward to your Tuesday morning in 2029. The commodity is no longer sugar, it is intelligence, and the ratio holds. To generate that seamless, magical answer from your AI assistant, we are burning the planet's water and electricity at a scale that rivals nations. We are not witnessing the birth of a post-scarcity world. We are witnessing the industrialization of the cognitive architecture. The digital lords of our era, companies like Amazon and Alibaba, are not benevolent architects of luxury. They are the new East India companies. They control the AI computing capacity, the modern equivalent of the shipping lanes and sugar mills. When you use Amazon Web Services, AWS, to host your life, you are paying a tithe to the landlord of the new feudalism. It reminds me of that scene in Margin Call, a film that captures the cold heart of financial systems better than any documentary. There is a moment when the senior partners realize the music has stopped, and they decide to sell everything before the world realizes it's worthless. They survive because they control the exit. Today, the digital lords control the entrance. This is why I despise those generic superhero movies that flood the cinemas. You know the ones. Cities are destroyed, skyscrapers topple, but there is no dust, no bodies, no economic consequence. It is violence without metabolism. The narrative of fully automated luxury communism is the superhero movie of economics. It pretends we can have the explosion of AI without the fallout of extraction. But the fallout is real. In 2029, the cost of your digital convenience is the ecological exhaustion of the periphery. We are seeing a phenomenon that scholars like Nerlini Carucci and Jorge Arreaza Montserrat describe as a civilizational crisis, where the system metabolizes social and ecological breakdown to keep growing. It eats the crisis to feed the growth. It is a parasitic loop. Imagine you are driving down a forgotten highway in the American Midwest. I once walked through the ruins of an old industrial zone in Detroit. The silence was heavy. Among the weeds, I saw the carcass of an old roadside diner, one of those orange-shaped, kitschy relics of the 1950s. The paint was peeling, the neon was dead. That diner was the tombstone of the 20th century American dream, a dream built on cheap oil, steel, and tangible goods. It was a material empire. The empire of 2029 is different. It is invisible. It doesn't need diners. It needs data centers. It doesn't need happy consumers driving Chevrolets. It needs docile users feeding the algorithm. The decay of that diner is not a sign that imperialism is over. It is a sign that it has shed its skin. It has moved from the asphalt to the cloud. This is the thesis of digital feudalism. The promise of luxury is a trap to get you to surrender your autonomy to a system that views you as a resource. But history is dialectical. Every thesis generates its own destruction. The very concentration of power that creates this feudalism is also creating the cracks that will bring it down. The elites are not as united as they seem, and the machine is not as perfect as they claim. Regarding the overwhelming power of these digital lords, I will still tell you later in round 2 about how this explodes into the geopolitical fracture, where the monolithic power of the West begins to crumble under the weight of its own contradictions. But to understand your escape route, you first need to see the war room where the future is being carved up. Are you ready to see the map? Round 2, the antithesis of sovereign liberation, the decolonial path. Cut the feed, open the map of the Middle East, zoom in on the Suez Canal. For over a century, this thin ribbon of water has been the jugular vein of the global economy. If you choke it, the world faints. We saw this in 2021, when the Ever Given ship got stuck. The global economy lost nearly $10 billion a day. That was a warning. Now look to the right. Look at the proposed path of the Gurion Canal. This is not just a construction project. It is a scar being planned across the face of the region. According to geopolitical analyses regarding the ongoing conflicts in Gaza, strategic thinkers view the violence there not just as a tragedy, but as a population cleansing operation to clear the path for this new imperial artery. Why? Because the algorithmic sovereign needs secure routes. The digital lords cannot afford a choke point controlled by unpredictable nations. They need a route they own. This brings us to the fracture of elites. We tend to think of the powers that be as a single shadowy group smoking cigars in a back room. But Ramon Grosfoguel, a sociologist at the University of California, Berkeley, identifies a critical split in the 2020s that defines our current chaos. On one side, you have the globalists, the Davoisiers, the financial technocrats who want a borderless world governed by flows of capital and data. They are the ones pushing for a single world government managed by AI. On the other side, you have the imperial nationalists, represented by the rising far-right movements in the West. They want to fortify the imperial core, close the borders, and exploit the world through direct dominance. They hate each other. But here is the horror. They agree on the target. Grossfogel notes that both factions converge on the destruction of the periphery. For the globalist, the global south is a laboratory for AI surveillance. For the nationalist, it is a dumping ground for inferior populations. This is the 4+1 threat matrix used by the US military. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and violent extremist organizations. It is the list of those who refuse to be metabolized. And where are you in this fight? You are in the crossfire. But the crossfire is exactly where you can move. The failure of this system is absolute, because as Rafael Bautista argues, it has finally collided with the finite limits of life. Infinite exponential growth is impossible on a finite planet. The digital lords like Alibaba are trying to create an alternative ecosystem with their cloud infrastructure, challenging the US hegemony, but often replicating the same developmentalist logic. The Chinese model, while efficient, is not your savior. As Grossfogel warns, for a sovereign individual or nation, copying the model of the empire is a trap. You cannot dismantle the master's house with the master's tools. So, what is the antithesis? What is the commune or nothing of the digital age? It is the decolonial path. It is the rejection of the consumer identity. In 2029, the most revolutionary act you can commit is to produce your own value outside the systemic metabolism of the big platforms. Hugo Chavez, the late Venezuelan leader, famously posited commune or nothing as a binary choice for survival. Translate that to your digital life. Sovereignty or serfdom. This means building intimate capital that cannot be scraped. The current AI economy relies on data capitalism, which penetrates the most intimate spheres of your life, your desires, your fears, your relationships, to turn them into prediction products. They are strip mining your soul just like they strip mined Madeira. But if you refuse to transact in their currency, if you build communities that operate on what Marx called the exchange of love for love, rather than data for dopamine, this is not hippie idealism. This is hard-nosed strategy. Jason Moore observed that climate crises are often bad for ruling classes. Chaos disrupts their supply chains. The great slowdown of energy I mentioned earlier, that is your window. When the grid struggles to power the massive data centers of Amazon and Alibaba, the decentralized, low-energy networks of human trust become the most stable infrastructure on Earth. The decolonial path is about creating original models. It is about using the technology without swallowing the ideology. It is about being the hacker who uses the laptop to write the code of liberation, not the user who uses it to watch the empire burn. I remember talking to a history teacher once, a patient of mine. He was terrified of the future. He felt obsolete. He told me, "Fernando, the kids don't care about the French Revolution. They only care about the feed." I told him, "The feed is the French Revolution. It is just happening in real time, and the guillotine is digital." He didn't need to compete with the machine. He needed to explain the machine to the victims. He needed to give them the map of mastery. That is your job. The AI singularity is not just a technological event. It is a political rupture. It is the moment where the mask of progress falls off, and we see the ancient face of power underneath. But it is also the moment where the fracture in the elite gives you the space to run. Regarding the choice between digital feudalism and sovereign liberation, we will still outline a specific action protocol that you must adopt next Monday to start building your own commune of one. But understand this: the decaying diner of the American dream is not coming back, and the glass tower of the AI utopia is a lie. You have to build something else, something human, something that doesn't burn 40 kilos of wood for a gram of sweetness. We have reached the protocol that is not magic. To ensure that you do not leave here with just theory, Here is the Sovereign Action Protocol to start next Monday. Step 1. The Metabolic Block. Audit your digital dependency. Identify which tool of the big digital lords, be it Amazon or Google, holds most of your personal data today. This week, start the migration to a local or decentralized alternative. If the service is free and convenient, remember the island of Madeira. You are the forest being burned. Step 2. The Analog Citadel. Establish a physical perimeter in your routine where the algorithm does not enter. It can be a room, a notebook, or a time slot. In this space, AI assistance is forbidden. You need to train your brain to solve complex problems without the crutch of automatic prediction. It is the friction of this effort that preserves your agency. Step 3. Human encryption. Strengthen a community bond outside the networks. Build a value exchange relationship based on trust, not digital transactions. When the network goes down or slows down, this will be your only functional infrastructure. Look out from the observatory one last time. The sun is rising over the solar city, burning off the fog of the old empire. It is no longer a view of decay, but of a vast, illuminated construction site where the foundations of a new world are waiting for your design. This is the euphoria of discovery, the realization that the collapse of the digital feudalism is not the end of civilization, but the clearing of the ground for your own sovereign architecture. The Great Slowdown is not a crisis. It is your permission to stop feeding the machine and start building the commune. You now possess the map of mastery that separates the serfs from the builders. The friction you feel is just the weight of the tools you are picking up for the first time. Build with them. As you know, the fundamental mission of this channel is to shield your mind against the shock of the future, preparing you for the inevitable reality of artificial intelligence and robotics. If you found value in this briefing, it is worth subscribing and ringing the bell, because we will generate even more content just as good as this, designed to inform, provoke, and help you navigate the transformations to come. I am your chronological investigator, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!